I sure hope you don't get seasick because we're taking a deep dive into the wave stitch in today's tutorial. All corny dad jokes aside, this stitch is oddly addictive and perfect for busting a little stash. We'll alternate between 2 basic stitches and a few color changes for a fabric that is nothing short of perfection. Hello loves, I'm Tony of TL Yarn Crafts and I am so jazzed to add this new stitch to your crafty repertoire. If you also have a thing for string, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel so we can be crochet besties. Now, grab your hooks and let's hang 10. Let's get started. This video is one of many helpful tutorials to accompany the Tunisian Snowy Sampler, a gorgeous 20 block Afghan that teaches new Tunisian crochet stitches and techniques with every square. To get the row by row instructions for this square and find out how to make the entire sampler blanket, visit the link in the description. To crochet the wave stitch, we're gonna need 3 different colors. So grab your first color and chain a multiple of 10 plus 1. I'm gonna go with 21. Once you have your 21 chains, we're gonna start in the second chain from the hook. So right here, you know what? Why don't you come a little closer? We need to get real acquainted, okay? Here we go. So we're gonna start in the second chain from the hook and slip stitch 5. So here we go. This is the loop that's on our hook. The first chain is right there at the base of that loop. Second chain is here. So we're gonna insert into that loop, yarn over, pull through the stitch, and then through the remaining loop that's on the hook for a slip stitch. Again, into the next stitch, yarn over, pulling through both loops. There's 2, here's 3, 4, and 5. Just make sure when you create those slip stitches, you make them nice and loose because you will need to work into those later. Now we're gonna follow those 5 slip stitches with 5 half double crochets. So we yarn over our hook to start, find our next chain, insert, yarn over, pull up the loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. There's our half double crochet. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up the loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. So there's 2, here's 3, 4, and 5. So you're going to repeat those 10 stitches across. So slip stitch 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And remember, we're keeping those nice and loose, okay? Don't tighten up on me. And then half double crochet 5. So here's 1. Oop, no, there's not. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we finish off with 5. So we're creating our base here and you can already see that undulation happening. So we're just gonna keep that going by continuing to do slip stitches and half doubles. And from here on out, we're working only in the back loop. So let me show you what I mean. We're gonna chain 1, turn our work, we're gonna need to half double crochet 5, followed by 5 slip stitches. So here's how we identify our front and back loops. So if we take a look, I'm looking at the back of the stitch right now. I need to look at the top of the stitch right here between my fingers. So the front loop is the loop that's closest to you. So that's this one right here. Back loop would be the one that's furthest from you. So it's this one right here. So when I say to half double crochet in the back loop, we're grabbing just this loop right here. So we're gonna half double crochet 5. So here's 1, here's 2, still going in the back loop, 3, 4, and 5. And now we need to slip stitch in the back loop as well. So let's take a look at our slip stitches here. So as I'm looking at my slip stitches, I've got my front loops, and I've got a back loop, just like with my other stitches. So we're going just in the back loop and we're gonna slip stitch 5. So there's 1. And this is why it's important to keep those slip stitches loose because we gotta get into them. There's 2, here's 3, here's 4, and 5. And we're gonna repeat that across. So half double crochet, back loop 5, grabbing just that back loop. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now slip stitch, back loop. Back loops are here. All right, so I'm kind of bending that work towards me so I can grab those back loops. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now on this last one, we do need to change color. So I'm going to grab my loop, but instead of yarning over with this purple and pulling through, I'm just going to drop this color for now. And I'm going to go to my next color, which is going to be this dark gray. Yarn over, and I'll pull through to complete my slip stitch. And now I'm set up to work with my new color. So now let's move into row 3, chain 1, and turn the work. We've reached our next row, which is row 3. So we need to start with a half double crochet in the back loop for each of the next 5 stitches. So the first thing you want to do is identify where your next stitch is. Since we changed color, it's very clear to see that our next stitch is right here. So we need this little back loop off of that slip stitch. So I'm going to half double crochet in the back loop for 5. So here's 1, go grab that other loop. For 2, here's 3, 4. Really does help to have some nails, but if you don't have them, that's okay. Just go slow, maybe get a slightly sharper hook. And 1 more makes 5. Okay, and now we need to slip stitch in the back loop for the next 5. So finding that back loop for 1, 2, keeping these slip stitches nice and loose. There's 4, and 5. So repeat that across. Half double crochet in the back loop of the next 5. So my next stitch is right here. I'm finding the back loop right there. So half double crochet in the back loop for the next 5. There's 1. Get in there. For 2, 3, 4, and 1 more makes 5. And we're going to finish out with a slip stitch in the back loop for the next 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 more makes 5. Lovely. You see what's happening here? You see that wave coming through? Gorgeous. Let's move on to row 4. We're starting with a chain 1, and we're going to turn our work. So for row 4, we need to start with slip stitching in the back loop for the next 5. So we're going to lift up, make sure we find that stitch, which is right here, right there at the base of the chain that we made. So I'm going to go in and grab that slip stitch and slip stitch for 1, keeping those nice and loose. Here's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Half double in the back loop for the next 5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Make sure you're just grabbing that back loop, okay? Slip stitch 5, just in the back loop, right there. For 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and finish up with a half double in the back loop of the next 5. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and we need to change color here. Now you've got a few options. If you want to make the original square like you saw in the thumbnail, like I made for my blanket, we're going to use 3 colors. If you want to just use 2 colors, you certainly could, but I really like the effect with 3 colors. I just think it looks super pretty. So I'm going to finish my color changes with this pink, and we're just going to leave all these colors attached and pull them up the side of the work as we go. So we'll finish off that half double with our new color. Chain 1 and turn our work. So now we're moving on to row 5. So we started with our chain 1. We're going to slip stitch in the back loop across for 5. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Half double 5, back loop, 1, 2, 3. keeping that gauge loose. Here's 4 and 5. Slip stitch 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Half double 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Lovely. So that was row 5. Let's move on to row 6. Chain 1, turn your work. Try your best not to tangle up your yarns. Row 6 starts with the chain 1, and we're going to start this with half doubles. Working in that back loop, we've got 5 of those coming. There's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Slip 5, working in those back loops. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Jumping back into our half doubles, working in those back loops for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and slip 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if we turn our work and take a look here, oh, well, we'll need to change color, and I'll show you how we do that. But we can see that wave stitch pattern happening. So beautiful. I think this looks absolutely gorgeous and has tons of different applications. So we're going to do just a couple more rows together, but this is a 4-row repeat. Okay. So I just pulled out that last slip stitch that I made. I'm going to insert into that stitch, and since I need to change color, I'm going to drop my pink and I'm going to grab my purple, pull it up the side of my work, just like that, and pull through for that slip stitch. Chain 1 and turn my work. So my floats will be on the front side of my work, but I'll be able to grab those when I make my border. Okay, so now we've worked through row 6. The repeat is rows 3 through 6. So we're going to do 3 and 4 again together just to make sure you got the hang of things. So row 3 starts with a chain 1, and we're half doubling to start. So half double 5 in the back loop. 1, just pull that down a little. There we go. Here's 2. The dog might start barking. 3, 4, and 5. And then half doubles are always followed by slip stitches. There he goes. Thanks, DoorDash. All right, slip stitch 5 next, okay? Working just in the back loops, slip 5. Here's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Half double 5. Here's 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, and 5, followed by half doubles. So there's 1, 2, here's 3, 4, 4, and 1 more makes 5. Fabulous. Chain 1, turn, row 4, we're starting with slip stitches, okay? Working in those back loops, make sure you grab the correct loop. So if I look at my chain is right here, right below it is the stitch. This is that 3rd loop. Here's our front loop. There's our back loop. So we're working just in the back loop. Slip stitches here for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Half double 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Half doubles are followed by slip stitches, and we've got 5 of those. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we finish off with half doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and on our last one here we need to change color, so I'm going to pull up my loop, drop the color currently in use and go grab my next color, which is my dark gray. Make sure when you're lifting your colors up, you leave a little bit of slack so it doesn't tighten up on the front side of your work. I'll chain one and turn, and would you look at that? Oh, it's so pretty. And when you have multiple repeats on here, it just gets more gorgeous. I'm going to add a few more repeats onto my swatch, and then we can compare notes. Here we go. After eating my delicious Greek takeout bowl, thank you DoorDash, I did work on my swatch a little bit more, and I am obsessed with this. I was not expecting these colors to do what they did, but can you see what they did? Okay, this is just so pretty to me. And I love the movement that the stitch creates. That's really the joy of it. And working in those back loops gives it a really fun visual texture. The color helps your eye move around the piece. And I just think it's a really great opportunity to stretch yourself beyond just regular straight stitches. We just mixed up some slip stitches and some half doubles, basic stitches that I'm sure you already know. But look at the result. It is so, so gorgeous. And if you enjoyed this tutorial, please make sure you hit that like button and consider subscribing because I do stuff like this all the time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.